So, welcome to the Full Attentions to Dollars guide. Now, before we start with the guide itself, I want you to look at this slide right here and actually look at this channel. This is, in fact, one of my channels, right? And I have the golden play button right here. As you can see, this channel has 26 million views, right? In the last, again, 28 days, I think it got some like 7 million views, right? 272,000 subscribers. And again, a play button right here. Now, here's the harsh truth behind you not knowing how to turn attention into dollars, right? This is the harsh truth. This channel with 26 million views has made me less than $100. Why? Because I didn't apply the attention to cold cash conversion systems that I have applied into other channels of mine and other business of mine in this channel right here, right? This is what you will get if you don't have the information that I'm going to present in this video right here. Now, to answer the question, why didn't I apply the attention conversion mechanisms that I'm going to be discussing in this video right here, in this channel right here? It's simply because this channel is a passion project of mine, right? But take a look at this, right? 56K earned, about 27,000 students, and all of these minutes of watch time. How many followers do you think that this took, right? Almost generating 60K, right, from this channel, right? Well, it took about 3.4 thousand followers, right? And most of them have been coming after I've hit like $30,000 generated from this channel right here. The point that I'm trying to drive across is that if you apply the systems that I'm going to be discussing about in this video right here, and keep in mind that this system, this framework that I'm going to be talking about in this video right here, again, I'm going to be revealing the whole framework. I'm going to be keeping nothing back, right? So literally by the end of this video, you will understand exactly how to get this result right here and not this result right here, right? And again, in this video, we will reveal the framework that has enabled me to turn attention to cold cash without any followers or dollars to invest in ads. As you can see, again and again and again, right? And again, with multiple creative businesses of mine. Those are different business endeavors with, again, the same framework behind them, again and again and again, right? Again, this framework has organically led me to launch my two creative businesses and currently work on them on full time, which is some of the most fulfilling work that I guess someone can experience, right? Having the ability to work on exactly what you love, those two creative businesses full time. And you can see that when I moved into this new apartment right here, the first thing that I actually moved with me was the logo of my creative business, the so-called Course Creation Academy, which I'm super proud of, right? So this framework is simple. It's not easy, but anyone can follow it, right? And anyone can see the same results as me, right? And I want to highlight that anyone can find the same result as me. It's not easy, right? But it's simple. And again, I'll walk you through it today on a step-by-step process. So I suggest you to make a deep and conscious effort to pay attention to this video because, again, this framework can and will change your life if you follow along and you understand and you digest the information that I'm going to give to you, right? Just as it changed my life. So let's move to chapter 1, the democratization of media and content, right? What do we actually mean by media and content, right? If you want to leverage this framework of turning attention into dollars, you need to understand the difference between media and content because we're always hearing about social media, content creation, but what is media and what is content? Media, at its core, is the channel, the so-called medium, right? Through which information or entertainment travels. It's the means of transformation of content, right? Media is a book, media is a radio signal, it is a TV broadcast or a TikTok video. The way that content moves from one person to another is the so-called medium, right? And different types of media are more efficient and more potent and more fast in communicating information. For example, a book is way slower when it comes to communicating information rather than a TikTok video, just because in order for the book to be distributed, right, it needs to be created, right? It needs to be transported physically from one place to another. It needs to be purchased, rather than a short form content video on TikTok, which immediately, once produced, it can be, again, leveraged throughout the whole world through this awesome platform, right? So media is the bridge. Content is what travels across that bridge. So again, the stories, the music, the news, the tutorials, the joke, this is content, right? We consume content through media. And everything is on steroids when we're talking about video content on social media, right? So if we look back, media didn't actually begin with the television. It started much earlier, right? So again, printing press gave us book, newspapers, media that could finally be shared on a large scale. Before books, before newspapers, media couldn't be shared on a large scale, right? So for the first time, ideas weren't just local. They spread across cultures and countries. So then the radio, of course, is a completely new medium, way more potent than the books. And this, of course, changed the whole scene of content. Now, content only in the form of audio back in the day could be actually, again, transported immediately with the radio. So it gave nations a shared moment, whether it was a presidential fireside chat or a live sports event. And then, of course, cinema and television completely changed everything, right? Now, here's the thing. The television entered the scene in the 30s and the 50s, and of course, as we know, it completely revolutionized not only media but content itself. Because first we have a change on the medium, right? And when a medium changes, when the type of media change, the content evolves itself. So suddenly with television, we have moving images, sounds, and storytelling directly into our homes, right? We didn't need to leave our house, unlike cinema. And unlike print, you didn't consume television alone. It was a social type of media consumption, right? TV was communal, it was constant, and it shaped culture in a way that it was completely unprecedented, right? But let's just say that you couldn't exactly have a TV production setup in your room right here and start two creative businesses with your TV production setup, right? And upload weekly, just what we do with content right now. So content production was actually limited to these big companies, right? And content consumption was limited to people who paid for cable TV. So again, the television was still controlled by a few. Only the biggest networks and studios could broadcast. The audience could only watch television. And of course, when the internet came around, the medium was completely revolutionized once again, right? The internet changed everything. You can imagine the bandwidth of content that could fit and be distributed automatically with the internet, right? Compared to the television, compared to radio and the books, right? So for the first time, anyone in the world could publish, right? Anyone could share and anyone could become a broadcaster. Pretty much gave the ability to anyone to broadcast content and, again, distribute content for free online. The gatekeepers were gone. Well, they weren't exactly gone because back in the days, YouTube really had its chosen stars, right? And in the early days of YouTube, I'm talking like 2016 to 2020. These aren't exactly the early days, but I'm talking about like the early days when content was actually structured, right? These people, PewDiePie, Casey Neistat, David Dobrik, they're really huge stars, and we don't exactly have YouTube stars nowadays. So let's analyze what happened right then, right? These people became household names, and they didn't become household names by accident. The platform loved their content, it worked, and that's why the algorithms content, right, was pushed aggressively. Because as the medium changes, the algorithms change, right? So here's the thing. Being a creator back in the day wasn't exactly democratized. You can see Casey Neistat, for example, was running around in New York City with those big cameras with microphones and lenses. And even if you didn't have the technical know-how to produce videos back in the day, you couldn't exactly, pick up your phone and start shooting videos, right? So again, content wasn't exactly democratized, or at least it was democratized, but it wasn't just that accessible. Case PewDiePie too, right? He had this huge setup with monitors, right, and microphones, and of course the technical know-how to broadcast videos. So again, access just wasn't there. In other words, only few people could play the game, right? And if we travel back in time a bit more, you can see that you probably needed a whole studio setup to record just a radio broadcast, right? And YouTube, of course, knew that. and reinforced this system. YouTube knew that just a select amount of individuals had the time and the know-how to create content, right? So the algorithm just heavily boosted those big established channels rather than just give new opportunities to smaller creators, right? So if you were new, the odds of actually getting discovered were almost zero. Growth on YouTube was just reserved for the elite few. And we saw that with YouTube Rewind, the Rewind series of YouTube, which was produced once every year to celebrate those big YouTubers, was a huge thing back in the day. But they don't exactly have YouTube Rewind nowadays, right? Because this guy came around and completely revolutionized not only the medium, but most importantly, content, right? Because the medium remains the same. We have social media platforms. We got YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, but content and the accessibility to content was completely changed and revolutionized with the introduction of the iPhone. So again, what once required a printing press, a radio tower, or a heavy DSLR camera now completely fits in our pocket. So every single one of us has the tools to create, publish, and distribute content to the entire world instantly. You do not need to be Casey Neistat to be able to shoot 4K videos at 60 frames per second. Your phone does it automatically. Hell, you don't even need to understand what 4K is or 60 frames per second is because your phone does this automatically. So content is no longer reserved for the few, right? It's literally accessible to everyone. And this brings us to chapter 2, which led to the birth of the so-called creator economy, what we're trying to leverage in this series right here. So now it really doesn't matter if you have 0 followers nowadays, right? You know that you're going to pull your first video and wake up to tens of millions of views the next day. Why? Because the algorithms evolved, right? As the medium pretty much remained the same, which was, social media platforms, but content evolved exponentially with the introduction of the phone, right, of the iPhone and smartphones. The algorithms evolved to serve the content that was so much revolutionized, right? So these algorithms no longer prioritize big names, right? And here's the thing. As the algorithms evolved and gravitated towards user-generated content, the content grew itself, right? It was a reverse feedback loop. Because first, the content medium changed, the phone, content changed, and then the algorithms changed, and the content changed itself again. What happened here? People started to use YouTube and TikTok as search engines. And in my opinion, right, after being in the space for many years now, I believe that this was the most important shift in the creator economy. People started to use YouTube and TikTok and other social media platforms as search engines. And this right here is potentially the most important and pivotal point of this whole video right here. And I want you to understand this because the fact that people used YouTube and TikTok as a search engine to ask questions, right? And to become educated and to become transformed, right? This desire itself stems from problems that these humans face by nature, right? And this was huge because someone asks questions and someone, wants to become educated and wants to become transformed. He wants to move from point A to point B because he's facing a problem. Think about it. When does someone want to be transformed? When he's not, happy, let's say, with the state that he's right now. When he wants to move from point A to point B. When he has a problem, right? And these people have problems and they turn to content for help, which is huge. So here's a fun fact about problems. There are pretty much 3 types of problems that any human being will ever face. These are health problems, wealth problems, and relationship problems. These are the 3 biggest markets, if you will. There's the health market, the wealth market, and the relationships market, right? Think about it. Every single one of your problems is probably a health problem, a wealth problem, or a relationship problem. And here's the thing. When there's a problem, there's opportunity. And where there's opportunity, there's a market for it, right? Now, you're very lucky because I like to call these markets the key 3 niches or the 3 king niches, right? The niche of health, the niche of wealth, and the niche of relationships. And you're super lucky because these niches, right, due to the democratization of content and content aside, they just sub niche to infinity, right? So let's take health, for example. Health is a huge niche, right? Filled with problems. Diet, right, is one subcategory of health. And if we sub niche, if we dig even deeper, you can see they have carnivore diet, sub niche even more, carnivore diet for male athletes. And you can sub niche even more, carnivore diet for retired, injured male athletes. So you can see that you can keep sub niching and sub niching and sub niching again in these huge industries. In relationships, for example, we got family relationships, we got father and daughter relationships, and under this umbrella, father and daughter relationships where daughter is a teenager. And again, under that, this whole thing in the US family, right? And in wealth, we got investing. You can sub niche into long-term investments. You can sub niche then into real estate, or real estate in Greece, or real estate in Paros, or real estate in Paros for retired people that want, again, to find a way to invest in Greece, right? So you can see that these niches just keep sub niching to infinity. And here's how I like to view the world of business. Keep in mind that I've never went to business school. I'm pretty bad at math, but for some reason I understand how the content world works and I know how to transact in this new era, right? And this is how I view the world of business. So there's you and there's the market. And if you want to conduct business, you need to find a way to reach the market, right? If you find a way to reach the market, right, and you have identified the pain problems of the market, right, then you are able to provide pain relief to these problems, right? And as long as you provide pain relief to these problems, the market will compensate you in a way. It really comes down into, first of all, you identifying the market that you want to be targeting, the problems that this marketing is facing, and then packing pain relief, right? And distributing pain relief as well as accepting compensation from the market, right? A dietitian, for example, right, targets the health market and provides pain relief in the form of information on how you can lose weight. She gets compensated for it. A real estate agent targets the wealth market, right, and provides pain relief in the form of, again, information as or service as he helps you search for a property and he gets compensated for it. Now, here's the thing. A creator, right, isn't, let's say, a substitute of a real estate agent or a dietitian. A dietitian and a real estate agent can become a creator, but when you're a creator, the medium changes, right? Because suddenly you are creating content for social media, right? So the medium just changes. This means that through social media, you can target any market you wish, right? Immediately, completely for free by leveraging, right? The, again, controlled, unlimited leverage that you can find online and providing any pain relief to any market you wish, right? In the form of information, right? So a creator transacts with the market and relieves pain through information, through providing information. And for that, he can ask anything he wants as compensation, right? So let's put this into perspective. Again, as a creator, if you enter this creator economy, you get to access the global economy, right? Because everyone is, again, moving to content to have their problems solved for free and provide pain relief in the form of information to your dream customer and ask whenever you want for it. Think about it. Is this the coolest thing ever? It is the coolest thing ever. That's why I'm doing it full time. And this is why in this video, I'm, again, on real time showing you how to achieve this, right? So here's how not only access, but dominate the creator economy. And dominating the creator economy means that you will be able to do what you love whenever you wish and help people that you have chosen to work with while being compensated for it. So it is a 5-step process, right? And I want you to focus here. Step 1, you need to reflect, right? You need to turn the mirror and think about yourself. What do you actually enjoy doing the most? And potentially you could teach to your younger self, right? So I want you to now reflect. Think of your younger self. What is a transformative experience that you have underwent, right? When was the time that you moved from point A to point B, right? What was the problem that you were facing in point A and now you've evolved, you've transcended into this new person in point B. And you could also potentially give some tips and advice to your younger self, right? When do you find yourself, ask yourself, when do you find yourself entering the flow zone the most, right? So the flow zone is this state where the human mind completely forgets about time, it forgets about hunger, it forgets about exhaustion, And when just, being on a task, time fades away and you're just there, hyper focused, right? So studies have shown that when you enter the flow zone, right, people that enter the flow zone the most tend to be the happiest, right? So ask yourself, when did you enter the flow zone, right? When do you find yourself entering the flow zone the most? Give you a short example and to put things into perspective, I actually really like playing tennis, right? And I started competing in open tournaments recently that have been, again, happening in my state. I was a club player, right? And since last year, I transformed again from a good club player to a state champion, right? This actually happened, by the way. Shout out the boys. Shout out the boys. Yeah, it really happened. So let's say, for example, you can also use ChatGPT to reflect. You can ask GPT, I want you to help me brainstorm what I'm good at and what I love doing, right? Something that my younger self would find very useful, right? And GPT will help you brainstorm exactly that, what you're good at, right? What you love doing and what your younger self needed. And the combination of those three is going to be your sweet spot. So let's now move to step two. And now, in step two, after you've identified what you want to focus on and what you're good at, it is time to highlight your market. It is time to understand the three markets. And after you understood those three markets, health, wealth, and relationship, keep sub niching until there is no competition in these markets. This is the most important step of this whole process. Choose a market and then keep sub niching until you are the industry leader in this market, until there is no competition, right? For example, I can't just go out there and start producing content around tennis, right? Because I will be dominated by all of the competition that there is around tennis, right? There's so many coaches, so many athletes that teach people how to perform a forehand, right, on YouTube, right? So what's the key here? The key here is to keep sub niching. So I engaged with GPT again here, and I told it, hey, I really like tennis. Can you help me brainstorm my target market? I want to create content around tennis and impact people with my content, right? Can you suggest me three sub niches that I can focus on, right? So again, you can do this either with GPT or by yourself or with a combination of your own brainstorming, again, energy and GPT, right? So GPT just gave me the answer and told me that, okay, I can focus on ambitious club players that want to move to competitive level. I can focus on adult competitive players or late bloomers, or I can focus on young players that are hungry for inspiration, right? So after evaluating my skills and my passions, GPT told me that this would be the ideal level of sub niche in the market of health, in the sub niche of tennis, and then in the sub niche of club players and ambitious club players that want to move from, again, being a club player to a competitive player, right? So what is step three? In step three, we're still inside of the market, right? But we need to create our target avatar. It is extremely important for us to put everything into context and create a target avatar. You're going to get some bonus points here if the target avatar is your younger self. Why? Because we know exactly how our younger self felt. We know exactly the problems of our younger self, and we know exactly how to target and talk to this exact persona, right? So in this case of being a club player wanting to become a state champion, yes, the target avatar would be my younger self. And in your case, if you followed the previous steps of this framework, it would also be your younger self, which is awesome, right? So in step three, I want you to describe in insane detail your target avatar, right? So I want you to take a piece of paper out and start mentioning every single detail about your target avatar. I want you to give him a name or give her a name, describe her age, describe her daily life, right? Describe her passions or his passions, his socioeconomic status, his problems, everything. The more detailed you are about your target avatar, the more potent this framework will be for you, right? So, again, remember, modern content is supposed to be viewed individually. This has to do with the medium itself, right? Consuming content on your phone is rather a personal act, right? We don't have many times, occasions where multiple people consume content from one device, right? So you must target and talk to one person with your content. So I want you to spend time brainstorming and describing your target avatar with as much detail as possible. So what's the fourth step here? After we've described our target avatar and we know exactly who we're targeting, the fourth step is to sit down and brainstorm the 10 biggest core problems of this target avatar of ours, right? We want to note down the biggest 10 problems that this target avatar is facing, of course, around like our niche, right? And what we've chosen, the market that we've chosen. For example, I've used GPT for this, right? And in the case of my target avatar, again, a club player that wants to move and compete professionally in tennis tournaments, the biggest core problems that he's facing is that he's plateauing on a club level, right? He lacks structured training. He has a weak serve, yada, 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 right? 10 core problems. Keep in mind that you can note down 20 core problems or 30 core problems. It's just a matter of having the 10 biggest listed down so you can move to the next step of this framework, right? So, hope you're following along up until this point because this is where things are about to get crazy. Now that you know the problems of your market, it is time to move to pain relief, right? And here's the thing. Now that you know the problems, you can actually go ahead and turn these problems into video ideas that you can create. For example, let's say that one of my core problems with Target Avatar is plateauing at a club level. You can create a video titled Why You're Stuck at the Same Level, right? And now you just relieved one of the biggest problems of your target avatar. Or another video, right, to solve the core problem number 2, which is lack of structured training. And this other video should be called The Training Plan I Used to Go from Club Player to State Champion. Now, here's the thing. The more core problems you solve of your target avatar, the more exact copy of this person you will attract with your content. And it makes absolute sense because the more details you have about someone and the more you understand their problems, the more of this exact person you will, again, magnetize to your content. So each one of the core problems of your target avatar can be scripted to a long form video, and each long form video can be divided to 3 to 5 short form videos, if you will. But I mostly want you to focus on long form videos. Why? Because we want to engage people as much as possible. And more information about this in some slides. Here's the thing, though. By solving one of the problems of your target avatar, usually new problems arise, which are, again, new content opportunities. And this is how you will pretty much never run out of content ideas nowadays, right? To give an example, let's say that my target avatar is facing the problem of, again, lacking structured training. And I solve this problem, right, by providing a video titled The Training Plan I Used to Go from Club Player to State Champion. So right now, this problem is solved, and my target avatar has a structured training plan, but a new problem arises, right? He can't balance training with everyday life. And this is where a new video opportunity comes into place, right? Because more problems equals more solutions to these problems needed, which we provide solutions through, again, information. So now we have a new video opportunity. And here's the thing. As I mentioned before, if you follow the framework up until this point, you will start to eventually attract the exact persona you described as your target avatar. So more videos produced will lead to a more detailed match of your audience with your target avatar, right? Which is a beautiful thing to see, right? Because you get validation that this whole framework worked. Once you start producing these videos and you see that the exact persona that you're targeting is actually subscribing to your channel, right? And you're growing your videos this way, it's just so fulfilling. So, congratulations. You now have the attention of the ideal person you want to work with. To give you a small example, by creating this video right here, I now have your attention, and you are the ideal person that I want to work with, right? And you're here because you're hungry of information, right? You're not hungry of those fancy edits with short form content clips and stuff. You're here because I chose to target you with this video right here. And as you can see, this works. I'm talking to you, right? You are my target avatar, if it makes sense, right? Now, this person knows, likes, and trusts you, and this is extremely valuable in the current career economy. Now, here's the thing. You can either stop here, or you can set up a system that automatically turns this attention into compensation. My take is that we shouldn't stop here, and I should actually reveal the system that turns attention into compensation. And that's chapter 2, or actually chapter 3, turning attention to cash flow. let's go. So we talked about how you can distribute information on social media. Let's now talk about how you can sell information, right? And there's a problem with this phrase, selling information, because you shouldn't even embark on a journey to try to sell information. Information doesn't sell as well as transformation. I want you to remember that people don't pay for information, they pay for transformation. Or even if they pay for information, they pay for information because they want to be transformed to someone else with this information. The demand for information reflects the desire for transformation in any market, right? This doesn't even have to do with content, right? If you think about it, someone might search for a Final Cut Pro tutorial on YouTube, let's say, because they want to be transformed into a video editor, not just because they want to learn Final Cut Pro for no reason, right? So yes, they embark on a journey to acquire information around Final Cut Pro, but they do this because they want to be transformed to someone else, right? Or students, for example, enroll to medical school, not just because they want to study anatomy, right? Because they want to become doctors. They want to become someone. That's why they pay tens of thousands of dollars for medical school, right? Because they want to become someone, right? And again, the highest the price of this someone that people want to become, right? The bigger you can charge with for information, right? And here's the golden rule for monetizing your content and entering this new creator economy. You attract people with information and then you sell them transformation. You do not try to sell information, right? So, how do I sell transformation, right? This is super theoretical. Let's talk about the value equation, which will completely untie your hands here. Now, the value equation is one of the most genius theoretical creations, I guess, like of the last decade. And I've studied the value equation very much when I got my hands on it. And it's this equation right here, right? Created by the man himself, Alex Hormozy. And the value equation states that value, and of course, perceived value is what people pay for, right? Equals with the dream outcome of your target avatar times its perceived likelihood of achievement, right? So again, how easy does your target avatar think that he can achieve this dream outcome of his, divided by the time and effort needed to achieve this dream outcome. So here's how we increase the value or the perceived value, because again, value is something perceived, right? It is something completely subjective and it depends on, again, who you're targeting. How do we increase perceived value? Two ways. You can either increase dream outcome or increase the perceived likelihood of achievement, or you can decrease the effort and sacrifice needed to achieve this dream outcome, right? And this is where most marketers or expert marketers have it wrong. When focusing on increasing the value of their products, of their services, right? They focus on the upper part of this equation. They focus on making bigger promises, right? Increasing more the dream outcome, right? Or making it look super easy, increasing the likelihood of achievement. But the true magic here and the smart way to increase the perceived value of any exchange is to actually decrease whatever is on the bottom side, right? On the bottom part of this equation right here. If you manage to increase time delay and effort and sacrifice almost to zero, regardless of what you have in the upper part of this equation, value will tend to infinity, if it makes sense. So I want you to keep this in mind when you're constructing your offers, which I'm going to be diving in just a second. So let's put this into perspective. How can I sell transformation? There are three types of products that you can create, right? And those are types of products that are created after packing information in the form of transformation, right? You got low ticket products, mid ticket products, and high ticket products, right? So low ticket products are priced anywhere from $5 to $97. You can see that I'm putting things into perspective here for you, and I'm literally revealing everything. Low ticket products are priced anywhere from $5 to $97, and the purpose is, again, to attract and qualify new customers. right? People pay for a low ticket product, they find huge value in it, and now they're more likely to enroll to your mid ticket product. And your mid ticket product is the lifeline, if you will, of your business. The purpose of your mid ticket product, right, is pretty much to generate revenue and find the fine line between genuine revenue generated for your business and satisfaction for your clients. Finally, we also have high ticket products, right? And high ticket products offer deep transformation, premium access, and solve all of the problems of your target avatar. So let's analyze low ticket products more. What do low ticket products do? So they remove excuses and show instant value, because the low ticket product, it's the first thing that someone that has been consuming your content and you have been, again, providing solutions to his 10 core problems completely for free as a long form video. Now he swipes his card and he purchased one of your low ticket products. So you need to build trust and you need to show that you deliver much value in this low ticket product, right? So again, these are often self-serve. There is no personal support from your end to your low ticket products, because again, it wouldn't make sense for your time. The goal here is to sell a big amount of low ticket products. So again, these products are either used to grow your list, lower the barrier of entry for someone to gain value from you on a paid level and turn strangers into paying customers. So what does a low ticket product look like? How can we pack information to transformation through a low ticket product? You can either create an ebook or a mini course or a template or a workbook. Those are digital products, very simple to create, very simple to distribute. They have no creation costs, no distribution costs, and it's just free money after you create them, right? They're awesome to, again, qualify people and see how many of your viewers are willing to purchase just a low ticket product from your end, right? So again, after your target avatar buys your low ticket product, you want him to think, wow, this guy delivered so much value for just 20 bucks. Imagine the value it would take from the more expensive offer that he has, right? So again, low ticket products sell the first step into a bigger transformation, right? And then we move into mid ticket products. Mid ticket products range from $97 to $997. And their focus is pretty much to provide a full system or a framework. You give out the whole map, right, for the transformative experience, for the transformation to your target avatar. So again, these are more structured, more guided, right, and more supported than the low ticket products, right? These could be comprehensive online courses or group coaching programs or memberships. In my opinion, the best mid-ticket product that you can create is a course, because the course will also increase the trust and the engagement that those students have with you. And it's going to be so easy to then upsell them into a high-ticket product. So again, these products are often the flagship offer that defines your brand and your authority. And it's super important for you to nail this and know exactly the type of course that you need to create and have someone on your side to help you with this course creation process, right? So again, after your target avatar buys your mid-ticket product, you want somebody to think, wow, this guy is the real deal. The course was really good and now I want to work with him on a one-on-one basis. So mid-ticket products deliver the complete roadmap to transformation. And once someone has the roadmap, potentially he might be interested to hiring you on a one-on-one basis. So high-ticket products cost start from $1,000, right? And they focus on literally like an identity shift, right? So you hop in, you exchange your time to solve all of the problems of your target avatar. You deliver faster, deeper results through personalized guidance and direct access, and customers pay more because they want certainty, speed, and exclusivity, right? So they offer the biggest status or lifestyle transformation. So high-ticket products could range from one-on-one coaching, masterminds, and again, you being an accountability partner, right? So now that we have the systems, we have the content and the offer, it is time to connect everything together, right? But before we connect everything together, I just want to make a small remark here. Many people, when presented to this framework right here, because I have taught this framework to 360 people and 40 people on a one-on-one basis, think that, oh my God, now I need to create content and then I need a low ticket product and I also need to create my mid ticket product and my high ticket product. I do not want you to fall for the misconception that in order for an online business to be structured and be profitable, or for you to enter this creator economy, you need to offer a low ticket product, a mid ticket product, and a high ticket product. It's not true, right? You can only have a low ticket product, or only have a mid ticket product, or only have a high ticket product. But I don't want to like stay in this theoretical state. I want to actually give you the best solution here. If you're a complete beginner and you are an expert, right? You know something and you can deliver results. The best approach for you is to actually only sell high ticket products for the beginning of your course, for the beginning of your career, right? In this new creator economy. Why? Because it's way easier to sell something that costs $1,000 once rather to sell something that costs $10 100 times, right? Think about it. It's way easier to sell something that costs $1,000 once rather than something that costs $10 100 times. Because in the first case, you need to just land one sale. But in the second case, you need to land 10 sales, right? Or I'm sorry, 100 sales, right? So start with high ticket products and let high ticket products show you, right, the transformation roadmap. And once you understand the transformation roadmap of your target avatar, take it, record it, and create the mid ticket product. This is what I had in mind when I was creating my mid ticket product. I started by coaching people and talking to people on a one-on-one basis. I coached 40 people one-on-one, and then I took this roadmap and created my mid-ticket product, which you can find linked below, and is here to serve exactly you, because you are my target avatar, right? So now that we have the systems and we have the content and we have the offers, it is time to connect everything together. And we do this with calls to action. This is the final piece of the puzzle here. CTAs, or calls to action, right, give direction to people, because without direction, people just do nothing. So CTAs act as a bridge from free content on YouTube to transformation. And the more value you deliver to free content, the more efficient your CTAs will be. I'll give you a short example here. This video is almost 40 minutes long, if not more. How much value am I delivering to this video right here, right? Probably lots of value compared to other videos that you've seen. So you're probably thinking, wow, this guy's giving me so much value for free on YouTube. Imagine what's going to be happening inside of his program, right? Inside of his offers, right? So again, a CTA acts as a bridge from free content to transformation. And each call to action should feel like a natural step in the journey, not a pushy sales pitch, right? So this is how calls to action look in the value ladder. Again, you first move people from free content to your low ticket product if you want to follow this way. For example, at the end of a YouTube video like this, you can say something like, hey, you can check out the first link in the description for more information about this guide that you can download, right? So the goal of the first call to action is to turn viewers into first-time buyers. Then you need another call to action on your low ticket product to urge people to check out your mid-ticket product. For example, inside of the mini book or mini course, you can say something like, hey, now that you've nailed the basics, join the full course to master the entire system and get results faster, right? So again, you show that the first win naturally leads to wanting the full roadmap, and then from the mid-ticket offer to the high-ticket offer, right? So at the end of course or at the end of a program, you can say something like, if you want to implement this with my personal help, apply for my one-on-one coaching. So you offer, again, certainty, speed, and exclusivity, and you upsell all of these to the people that are highly intrigued by your offers and your content, and they really see the value. So before we end this presentation, the final rule of calls to action is to have one clear action step. You do not want to overwhelm people. So every CTA should answer, what's next for my audience's transformation? And when stacked correctly, calls to action turn, again, free value into a customer journey from stranger to buyer to a success story. So remember, transformation doesn't just happen by chance. It happens by design, right? Your content inspires, your product delivers, and then your calls to action simply connect the two. So master this, and you're not just selling information, you're guiding people through a journey that changes their lives. And now that you've seen the information given in this period here, you might want to actually check out the first link into the description to help you enter this creator economy in the most potent and effortless way. Thank you very much for being here. I'm going to see you in the next video.